Hey, Peter, before
Yeah.
I forget, Lynn Page would like you to call her if you could.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yep.
Sorry, Peter Trezise.
Oh, I was gonna say I don't know Lynn's number.
Yeah, I have it if you need it.
I can find it.
Okay, thanks.
TV is getting ready to take us live.
Okay, I've got 7 p.m., which means it's time to call the regular meeting of the Planning Commission to order. This is the April 12th, 2021 regular meeting. And we are going to add one extra thing to the beginning of our meeting this evening, which is that we're going to do a roll call. And if everyone could tell me that they are present and from where they are present for this meeting, we would appreciate it. So we'll go ahead and start on our list here. Commissioner McConnell.
Present. I'm in Alchemist.
Okay. Commissioner Primo. Commissioner Primo is absent this evening. Commissioner Cordill. Oh, you're muted, Holly.
Sorry, present from my bunker in Meridian Township.
Okay. Commissioner.
Excuse me. Sorry, Scott. The way I understood it, and maybe you know it better than me, I thought there was a specific that say your name, say I'm attending remotely, and then from wherever you're at. I think the attending remotely and your name has to be in there.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, then we'll start back from the beginning. Commissioner McConnell.
This is Bill McConnell. I'm attending remotely from Alchemist.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Primo is absent. Commissioner Cordill.
Holly Cordill present. I'm participating remotely from my bunker in Meridian Township.
Okay. Commissioner Shrewsbury.
This is Alice Ann Shrewsbury. I'm participating remotely from Okemos.
Commissioner Richards.
Commissioner Richards participating remotely from Okemos.
Commissioner Bloomer.
Commissioner Bloomer attending remotely from my home in Meridian Township.
Commissioner Snyder.
Christina Snyder attending remotely from Hazlet.
And Commissioner Trezise.
Peter Trezise, Commissioner, attending remotely from my home in Okemos.
And I am Scott Hendrickson, attending remotely from Okemos. All right, I think we've covered ourselves in this way, so we'll go ahead and move on to our next agenda item, which is public remarks. So there are 3 opportunities for public remarks this evening. First is right now. We'll have a public hearing in the middle of the meeting, and then there's public remarks at the end. If you'd like to join us to speak at public remarks to address the Planning Commission, You can do so in two ways. If you are in our Zoom meeting in the attendees area, you can use the raise hand feature, and we will promote you to a panelist, and you can talk to us then. Or you can give us a phone call at 517-349-1232, and our staff will put you through to us. Please remember that public remarks are limited to 3 minutes, and please provide your name and address at the beginning of your remarks for the public record. And with that, we'll go ahead and give everyone an opportunity to raise their hand or call. I do see one raised hand, so we'll go ahead and get them promoted.
Okay, we've got David Tate. David, you're on with our Planning Commission.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
We can, go right ahead.
I just wanted to make a comment. Oh, let's see, my name's David Tate. My address is 5117 Joe Don Drive in East Lansing, 48823.
Hey, go ahead.
So I just wanted to make a comment about the rezoning number 21030. New China of Michigan wants to rezone from a 14 to a 34 unit dwelling, it looks like. And I guess I am against that rezoning. It seems like, looking from their application, that their primary reason for doing it is to service the community with new apartments, which it seems like East Lansing is awash in new apartments right now. Also, if right now there's an apartment building and then there's a lot right next to it that's empty, and I have a 4-year-old, or excuse me, a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, and there's several other children on the road, and there are no sidewalks and a lot of kids, so you have to use the street to ride your bikes. Some kids will pull like basketball hoops out into the road to play. And I feel like adding another building is just going to add more traffic down our road. And that could potentially endanger the kids in the area. They potentially need to put another driveway and parking lot, because there's no way they could fit another unit's worth of parking in the one that they have now at the end of the road, which doesn't really affect anyone on the road. And that would potentially go across the street, maybe from my driveway. So personally, if I had a choice, I would just assume they not build it there. Also, that area is kind of a green space for the kids on the road. The only other real green space would be, I guess, like the school that's, oh shoot, I've only been here a couple of years, the Wardcliff, yeah. And to get to that from our road, you kind of have to go out, around, up Brookfield and around. There's no easy like cut through. So I don't know whether they like kids playing in that green space, that lot, or not. I've never heard them complain about it, but it is a nice open field for kids to play soccer in. And
30 seconds.
So I guess I would be against the rezoning for those couple reasons.
Thank you very much, David. Anyone else wishing to address the Planning Commission at this time? Looks like we got one more here.
Okay, we've got someone that identifies themselves simply as MF.
Welcome, MF. Please remember to unmute and then give us your name. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
My name is Mila Frory, and I live at 5133 Joe Don, just kitty corner from the lot proposal. And I guess I'm wondering if somebody can clarify whether the proposal is for another apartment building, or if it's to separate the lot from the current zoning to make it residential. If it's for a multi-unit, 34 unit, or even 12 unit, I guess I would oppose to that because there are many children on the street, and they do ride their bikes up and down the street and play soccer and basketball. And I would be worried that if there's another apartment building, that there would be more traffic down our cul-de-sac street to turn around and park on the street. As well as many of the children really like walking up to the grocery store and the gas station and to the park. And so if there's twice as much traffic as there is now from the apartment building, I would just be worried about safety issues. That's all.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak this evening? See John McLaughlin.
Okay, John, you're in with our planning commission. Be sure to unmute yourself. Give us your name and address.
John, it appears as though you are muted still. Can you try unmuting yourself, please? John, are you there? We had audio for a second, John. John, we're gonna give you one more try. Can you make it? John, if you can, it might be easier for you to give us a call at the phone number that we have here. If you call, we'll make sure that Stephen gets you in. Sounds like you're having some audio or bandwidth issues.
That number one more time, just 517-349-1232.
We'll give you another minute to call that number.
The phone's ringing. Stand by, please. We lost the caller.
Okay.
Stand by. Mr. McLaughlin, can you call in again, please?
Eventually we'll be back in person, and this part I won't miss. It's a lot easier when you can walk up to a microphone. Stephen, anything on the phones? Okay, well, our only agenda item this evening is the public hearing. So John, if you're still listening, you will have an opportunity, if you're here to speak about that issue, to give us another call at the public comment for that. So I think we're going to go ahead and move on to our next agenda item, and hopefully we'll catch you at the public hearing. So next is agenda item 3, approval of the agenda. Oh, yeah. Helen, I think we caught you a little too late. If we're going to get you in at the next public comment. So do we have a motion for the agenda?
I'm sorry, Mr. Hendrickson. Are we too late for Mr. McLaughlin?
Yeah, we haven't officially moved on yet. We'll go ahead and we'll go back to John.
Mr. McLaughlin, can you please state your name and address for the public record?
Yes, John McLaughlin. I'm living at 4442 Congdon Drive in Williamston Township.
Okay, go ahead.
Anything else?
Go ahead with your comment.
All right. I'm a professional engineer. The owners of the property have asked me to work with them on trying to divide the property. Their intention was to be able to get some equity out of the property they own. The north half is, as you've noted from the packet, is vacant, and they do have the 6-apartment building on the south half with parking. Their primary objective is to be able to sell the lot to a party that had approached them about building a home there. The zoning as currently existing would not allow them to do this. Changing the zoning to our would allow them to then sell the property, because that would allow a sufficient number of living units on the south half with the building that they have there now. The RCC zoning allows 34 living units per acre, and I'm afraid the people on the street are understanding that we could build 34 units on that half of the property. That half of the property would only allow for 14. No, not even that, because the total property would only allow for 14 units under the RCC zoning. They already have 6, which would mean only a maximum of 8 could be there. And they don't have any intention of building that kind of a building there. Their intention was to be able to sell that half to the party that was interested in building their home there. I don't know if that clears up some of the questions for the other people that are objecting. I'll answer any other questions that might be of it.
Yeah, thank you, John. If you would, I think if you're here representing the applicant, it would be helpful for you to stick around until the public hearing, and we can ask you some questions if we have them.
Just a minute, let me put my hearing aid back in. That was messing up the telephone connection. Hang on.
Unfortunately, this back and forth on the telephone doesn't work very well. We should probably try and get Mr. McLaughlin.
I can hear you very well now.
Yeah, we should try to get Mr. McLaughlin connected via the Zoom meeting if he's going to provide additional input.
Okay. Yeah, John, if you could, go back to your computer and join and be, present on the Zoom meeting. We'll have some questions for you when the public hearing comes around.
What?
Stephen, if you can help to relay that, I'd appreciate it. And since we're still in public comment, let's give Helen an opportunity to speak, please.
Okay, Helen, you're on with the Planning Commission. Be sure to
Hello?
Hello, go ahead. You're on with the Planning Commission.
Hi, my name is Helen. I am the owner of the property at 5114 Jordan Drive. The main purpose for us is try to sell the land to a fan who wants to build a single family home there. So in the beginning, we tried to divide the land out from the current building, and they said we had to process they cannot done it unless we can do rezoning first. That is why we do this part. So that is what's this. We are not trying to build so many units as John said. Yeah, I tried to ask John to represent me because of my English. So I was raising hand. That is because John cannot able to connect in the area. So that's my purpose. Try to sell the land to a friend who try to build a single family home. And there should be enough of the land to get the parking lots there. And currently the apartment we have plenty of the apartment parking lot over there, never been full. So I think there's a lot of parking there for us. Yeah, a lot of children use our land to play soccer and use them as a public ground over there. And I usually don't say anything. Yeah, I know a lot of the kids, they play around my land quite often for so many years. Yeah, we just try to sell the land and then try to get some money to pay the property tax. Okay, that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Helen. Okay, anyone else wishing to speak this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item 3, which is approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion for the agenda this evening? Motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second? Seconded by Commissioner Bloomer. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor of the agenda, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And the motion carries. Agenda passes. Thank you. Okay, next up is approval of minutes. We have one set of minutes to approve from our March 22nd, 2021 regular meeting. Do we have a motion for the minutes this evening?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Trezeisk, seconded by Commissioner Cordell. Any discussion on the minutes? I've got a couple of items of note that I noticed on page 3 of the minutes. In agenda item 7A, there was, after the line supported by Commissioner Primo, it says that there was a voice vote, motion approved unanimously. That should be stricken. It was the roll call vote as indicated below, not a voice vote. And then similarly on page 4, it's the very first thing on that page, under agenda item, I guess 7B, it also suggests that there was a voice vote, but there was actually a roll call vote. So I'd like both references to the voice votes to be stricken if that's agreeable to Commissioner Trezeisk.
Yes.
Yep. Any other motions or changes, Commissioner McConnell?
A similar issue with the approval of the minutes. It looks like we might have done that twice. I think maybe the first time was a little premature.
Yeah, so that's right. Agenda item 4A, voice vote. The first one should be eliminated because we only voted once on the minutes. Someone got voice vote happy and when they were making the minutes this time around. Any other changes? Commissioner Cordell.
Yes, thank you. I am looking at page 3. It was regarding the rezoning case 21020. The first bullet point, I kind of tweaked, I thought for clarity, discussion of whether the petitioner would be willing to accept a reduced, and I removed the word parcel, but put in proposal, and only rezone the parcel with frontage on Jolly is what I suggested on the first bullet point.
Any discussion on that? All right, seeing if there's no, yep, Commissioner Shrewsbury.
I think then you would want to amend slightly the second bullet because it's not really a second rezoning, it's the full rezoning.
Yeah.
So if that change is acceptable, then I think we need to change the second bullet too.
Okay, any issues with either of those changes? Seeing no objection, we'll accept those as friendly amendments. Any other changes to the minutes? All right, all those in favor of the minutes as amended, say aye.
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 Any opposed? And the meeting minutes pass. All right, next up is communications. We have two communications, one a letter from the Corridor Improvement Authority about form-based code, and then one letter about the rezoning proposal in front of us this evening. And Keith was kind enough to share another communication that came in about the rezoning proposal as a late item, a late addition to what we have here. So then we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is 6A, which is rezoning number 21030, New China of Michigan, rezone 0.42 acres to RC, multiple family, maximum of 14 dwelling units per acre, to RCC, multiple family, maximum 34 dwelling units per acre at 5114 Joe Don Drive. And so this evening, we will depart from our typical procedure and we will go to Keith Chapman, who I'm sorry, Keith, I don't recall your title off the top of my head. I should have written it down to get us started on the public hearing.
Thanks, Scott. It's assistant planner is my
Assistant
title.
planner. All right. I'll write it down for next time.
Yeah, not a problem. So let me share my screen here. Okay, so this public hearing is for rezoning 21030 New China of Michigan. The request is to rezone an approximate 0.42 acre parcel located at 5114 Joe Don from RC multiple family maximum 14 dwelling units per acre to RCC multiple family maximum 34 dwelling units per acre. So this is a location map that shows where it's located. It's right next to Stratford Place on the northeast corner of Sir Hall and Joe Don. To the south is Gables Plaza and the Gables Point shopping centers. And then if you go further south, it's like Coral Gables on Grand River there. Okay, so 2017 master plan, future land use map designates this property as R2 residential, 0.5 to 3.5 dwelling units per acre. And this shows that, as well as the pink area is commercial, and then the brown is all the R2. So the current zoning, RC, multiple family district that allows 14 dwelling units, RCC, multiple family that would allow 34 dwelling units. So these zoning districts are used to establish the minimum lot size and lot width, as well as the permitted land uses. So both the RC and RCC require 100 feet of lot width, and it meets this requirement for it meets the lot width requirement for 216 feet on Joe Don, but it doesn't meet it on Sir Hall, which is only 84 feet in lot width. And this is the zoning. So to the east is RC as well, and south C2 commercial, and to the west is RA, which is single family, and then RX, which is single family, two family. On site, there's currently a 3,360 square foot apartment building. There's 6 units. It's 2-story with garden level that was constructed in 1963. There's no wetlands or floodplain on the property. So rezoning review criteria that the Planning Commission and Township Board has to consider. All uses permitted by right in the current and proposed zoning district, as well as all uses by special use permit and in the current and proposed zoning district. The reasons for the rezoning that are listed on page 2 of the application, as well as the applicant's response to those reasons. So to go over some of the development options, RC permits two-family dwelling by right, and both the RC and RCC special use permits allows for 3 or more dwelling units. Also like a mixture of single family, two-family, multifamily in different combinations, where single family can't exceed 50% of the density. Group housing development containing more than 50 dwelling units, and incidental commercial where project is greater than 200 units, and this is specifically grocery stores, light service, drugstores, and restaurants. So page 4 and 5 of the staff memo goes over pretty well about the density of the property. So the current RC zoning, like I said before, allows 14 dwelling units per acre. And since the property is only 0.42 acres in size, you multiply those two together, it would only allow for 5 total units as is. And the proposed RCC is the 34 dwelling units per acre, and that multiplied by the 0.42 comes out to 14 total units. And since we're only considering the land use, I do want to make you aware that there are future development considerations that may come into play as to what gets built on the property. So the RCC zoning district requires a 40-foot rear yard setback, and that would be from the east property line. All buildings, including accessory buildings, cannot occupy more than 35% of the net area of land on the property, and a minimum of 35% of the total land area exclusive of drives and parking must be set aside as open space. And like I said, without a development plan, there could be more, could be less. I just don't know. But that's all I have.
Okay, so for the folks watching at home, we just for I don't know if Keith, I don't think you touched on the format of the public hearing itself. After the presentation from staff, we give an opportunity for the applicant to speak, and then public comment, and then the planning commission will speak. So at this time, I'd invite the applicant to weigh in here, and if they'd like to give a presentation, they're welcome to. I think we've got John and Helen in the meeting here. If either of you would like to speak any further on the rezoning application, now would be an excellent time. Looks like someone might be promoting you as we speak here. Maybe.
Mr. McLaughlin is still dialing in, but we're working on it right now.
Okay. John, can you hear us? John, I'm sorry, you're talking, but we can't hear you. Looks like you're dialing in, so that's good.
Well,
Oh,
Now,
yes. Go ahead, John.
Let me turn my volume up here.
Yes, we can hear you now.
okay,
Yep, turn my phone up.
No, Mr. McLaughlin, you were connected. You need to dial back in, put that information back in.
John, can you hear us? You need to call. You need to use your phone, John.
Can you hear me now over the phone? Yes?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, John.
Okay. Uh, did you have my address and so on?
We
from
did.
before?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, the comment that I was trying to make is that the notice that indicated that the zone RCC could have 34 building units or dwelling units, and that is per acre, which I think is confusing the people along the street who got the notice. The entire lot is only 0.42 acres and would only allow a total of 14 building units in the RCC. The south half already has 6, so the north half could only have as much as 8 living units. The owners don't intend to develop it into an apartment building. They were approached by a person to purchase the north half to build a home, and at this time I don't know whether they intended a single family or a duplex home, which would fit under the RCC code. I don't know if that helps to clear up some of the negative comments that have come in.
Okay. Thank you, John. If you could stay on the line, please.
Yes,
we may
I will.
have some questions for you later.
All right, I'll
All right,
stay on.
thank you. Okay, so now we'll open up public comment in the public hearing. Please limit your comments to the topic at hand, which is this rezoning request. If you're in our Zoom meeting, you can raise your hand and we will promote you. Or you can give us a call at 517-349-1232. Thank you very much, and we'll give everyone a moment to raise their hand or call in. Okay, seeing no hands raised. Oh, I spoke too soon again. All right, we've got David Tate raising his hand.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
We can, go right ahead.
Do I need to state all the things again, or am I good?
Yes, please.
Okay, David Tate. I live at 5117 Joe Don Drive, East Lansing, Michigan, 48823.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
So is this just me commenting, or can I ask questions?
This is the time for public comment. It's not really a dialogue, but if you ask questions, there's a decent chance that one of us will ask those of the applicant and they can address those.
Okay, I guess I know really nothing about zoning and building and such. So I guess my previous comments that I had made in objection was just assuming, reading the letter, that it just looked like they wanted to perhaps build another complex similar to what they have next to their current one. And if their proposal is to sell that property through this rezoning process and just build a single family unit, or at the most maybe a duplex like the one next to it, I would not object to that.
Thank you very much. And I've got MF.
Hi, this is Mila Froreep from 5133 Joe Don. So I had a chance to speak with Helen today, the building owner, and she had stated that she was hoping to separate the property to entertain a purchase for a single family home. So I guess I'm wondering if there's a way to say that, you know, the neighbors would approve to a single family or a duplex. But then if, say, the offer fell through and the owners wanted to build another multi-family complex, would that go up for reconsideration, or would that, if the zoning was approved, would that they automatically be able to do that without coming back for reevaluation?
Okay. Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak with the Planning Commission on this topic? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on from public. Oh, Peter? I can't hear you, Peter. Peter, are you there? Can't really hear you.
Sounds like you may have a mute. Now you're muted, but
It's probably a microphone headset issue, if I had to guess. And I do see, while we're waiting for Peter here, I do see that both applicants have their hands raised. If you can give us a moment, we will come back to you with questions.
Nothing now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, I don't know. Who knows? Just before you go to discussion, I at least wanted to make the point. The single family issue is the first time that we've heard that today, and that would not be appropriate with the current requested zoning district. So single family is not a use that's allowed in the proposed district. So if that's the intent of the applicant, we're kind of on the wrong path. So that might be helpful to clarify that.
Okay.
Here. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Peter. Okay, so we will then move on to Planning Commission discussion. And I think the first relevant question is relating to the comment that Peter just made, which is, if your intent is to rezone this for the sale of the, I guess, part of the property or use of part of the property as a single family residence, and now knowing that that would not be a proper use of this, would you still like to move forward with the rezoning? And I'll leave that to either Helen or John. And John, we can't hear you anymore.
I do have Helen here, who is the property owner.
Yeah, perhaps if we promoted Helen, we're not getting John's audio
Yep.
anymore.
All right, here you come, Helen.
Helen, if you're there, go ahead and unmute. Yep, you're already in the meeting, Helen. Go ahead and unmute. Helen, can you unmute, please?
Okay, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah. This multi, I think so. Like, this is okay for the duplex family, right? Not the single. Is that right? Not even the duplex.
So that's what Peter said. I'll confirm
Yeah.
that with Peter and Mark to make sure that duplexes also would not be allowable in RCC.
I thought it's like only single is not allowed. Even duplex is not allowed.
Peter or Mark, can you answer that, please?
Yeah, sorry. Just trying to get my screens right. So RCC allows by does not allow two-family dwellings by special use permit. That's all. So they're allowed in RDD, RD, and RC, but not RCC.
So how many? When is okay? So what is the minimum unit we can do? So we don't want to build a whole lot building. We want to build like, if single, that's the best. If like single is not possible, even the duplex cannot. So it's not allowed. So what I mean is that like after we divide the land out, can they apply for the zoning again?
Keith, I'm gonna let you handle this. You've been working on the case.
So yeah, if like if this one passed and then can if the land divide out from the building, are we allowed to zoning again? Like, but currently is like not a single on and not the duplex. So our purpose right now is divide the land out from the building. That is what our purpose. And
okay, so let me just see if I can summarize what you're suggesting. We rezone the land from RC to RCC. You divide the land, and then you rezone the northern parcel back to a zoning that would allow for a single or family house or a duplex?
yes, is that possible?
I guess that's a question for staff. It feels like
Yeah, so as is right now, and we've had this conversation, I think it was noted in the staff report. So right now, we can't do a land division because it would make the whole parcel non-conforming. So it only permits 5 units as is, and there's 6 units there. So we can't, by ordinance, allow them to split the parcel because it's going to be non-conforming.
Okay, and so this was our plan to upzone it and then downzone it again?
Well, I haven't heard anything of a down zoning back afterwards, so I don't. Okay. This is the first time I've heard of that. So.
Okay. Okay. I saw Commissioner Richards a second ago. I don't know if it was Commissioner Trezise then.
Yeah, it seems to me we've got the individual in a strange situation where it requires a rezoning to split, but if we approve the rezoning, she has the absolute right to put another apartment building on there, which is opposed and which I would oppose in that neighborhood. So I guess the question is how we get from A to B to allow, if we wish, the split of the property and allow that to be developed as a single or a duplex. And we'd have to upzone the remaining piece so that it is not a non-conforming use. So it sounds like a chicken and egg type situation.
But just to add on to that question, maybe for staff to answer, is this a situation where they could theoretically go to the ZBA and request a variance for the number of units, and then once if approved, have it split?
So the zoning board of appeals for Meridian Township, we can't grant a use variance. And since this would be considered a use, we can't go to the ZBA to do that.
Okay, so is there any other way to Commissioner Trezis's question without having to get caught in a chicken and egg quagmire?
I can ask Mark, but I think this is what we've come up with as the avenue.
Well, I'll clarify that. We didn't come up with this process. So the applicant applied to rezone to this district.
Yeah. Sorry.
In the beginning, we applied to split that from the
Right.
building, and then it did not qualify. And then we applied for variance, and then it did not qualify. And then this one is the one that they suggest. That's the one. That's why I come out here.
Understood.
So yeah, it's been a couple months. The first time I walked in there, tried to split the land out from the building.
Thank you. Commissioner Cordell.
Yes, thank you. So my understanding is in this RC district that they're presently in, they are not able to build, they're not able to have a single family home or duplex. Is that correct? Okay, therefore, what if they request a rezoning to a different zoning classification that's conditional on either it being developed either a single family home or a duplex? If the applicant were to offer that as a condition, is that a route?
I'll leave that to Director Kieselbach.
Yeah, this is a difficult situation. When this site was originally used back in 1963, the way the zoning ordinance was set up, the most they could do on the entire site is a 6-unit building. The way they calculated density, because it's slightly different than the way we do now. That's the dilemma. Even though they built the structure on the southern portion of this property and left the northern portion vacant, basically that entire parcel is used per density. So no more density under the RC could be allowed. As Keith said, it can't be split because it makes the existing 6-unit non-conforming, and they don't meet the minimum for the vacant parcel to use. And as was said, the Zoning Board of Appeals can't grant a density variance. So they can't grant a variance to increase the number of units on that northern portion to have development. The rezoning basically was trying to keep the existing building conforming based on the number of units, and then allow for some use on the northern portion. Again, as was said, a single family duplex in the RCC, that 34 units, those aren't allowed.
Okay, so just walking through, I see a couple of hands. I'll get you to in just 1 second. Walking just one step further on this, Mark, let's presume for a moment that this rezoning passes, okay, and it passes through the board. Could they then split the parcel as they're describing?
I'm sorry, Scott, I didn't do what with the parcel?
If this zoning were to pass, this rezoning request, would they be enabled to then land divide this parcel south from north?
They could on the allowing for the density, they could. Okay. There's other issues too, the existing building's not conforming, but it's setbacks, not density.
Sure. So, okay. So the plan actually could theoretically work, right? If everything worked if everything went to plan, right? It could theoretically be upzoned, divided, and then downzoned again. Is that accurate? To get what they want, if they want a duplex or a house on that on the northern half of that property.
It could. Remember, there's no there's no offer of any conditions here, so the zoning goes with the property, so it could be sold and developed to its full potential.
Sure. Understood. I'm just, I'm going to assume for a moment that the applicant is coming forward with honest intent. I just want to make sure that if before we go on and fully entertain the notion of what they're describing, that it's possible. So, okay, I saw Commissioner Richards and I saw Commissioner Bloomer and I saw someone else, Commissioner McConnell, I think. So we'll go Richards, Bloomer, McConnell, and then we'll see who else is looking to weigh in.
Okay, I guess the chair asked a question that was on my mind in terms of rezoning and then splitting. But I guess, and again, this isn't something that is going to happen overnight, but in listening to what the neighborhood is looking for, which my guess is to continue that green space as a little pocket park, and the owner is looking to generate some income from the property, it seems like one possibility, and again, whether this is possible or not, is, for it to be developed if it could be split and then sold theoretically to the township for a pocket park, then it seems like that would be a resolution. That doesn't necessarily, help in this situation at the moment, unless, a condition may be put out there that the property would be used for some sort of open space as part of the condition of the rezoning. But, short of that, I think that, rezoning it without any, limitations on it, I don't think I can support it myself, and I think it's going to be difficult to support. So that's my thought.
Okay, Commissioner Bloomer.
I have a question. Even if the split is ultimately allowed, does the newly created parcel of property face questions because of a limited setback? It doesn't meet width requirements, if I understand the earlier discussion. Is it going to become a useless piece of property because it can't be properly developed because of setback problems?
Probably overall, it's not so much the size or the lot width. It's going to be actually trying to physically put a building on the site is going to be the problem with setbacks.
It just seems to me that it may create more problems than it solves to split off that northern section.
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner McConnell.
Yeah, thanks. My question, I think the Director Kieselbach largely answered it, but I'm still a little unclear. The current use is non-conforming, and I appreciate the clarification that it's not a density issue, it's setback issues. But that suggests to me that the property was built before the zoning was adopted. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been built without a variance. Is that historically correct that the code followed the construction, or am I confused on that point?
No, the zoning, the RC zoning back in 1963, density wise, it would have allowed the six units on that site. As far as setbacks, it met the setbacks that we had in 1963. Over time, those standards for setbacks and parking lots have all changed. So it is non-conforming because of those reasons.
Gotcha. Thanks for that clarification. I mean, it does seem like the stopgap of upzoning does raise the sort of specter of someone coming and demolishing a new owner, potentially demolishing the current building in order to build something of the maximum size, which seems, it's unfortunate if the housing stock is good and serving a purpose. So, well, it feels like a real conundrum.
Thank you, Commissioner McConnell. Anyone else wishing to weigh in? Commissioner Snyder.
Thank you. So I'm looking at the parcel viewer and, just eyeballing it, the parcel immediately north at 5130, that parcel, again, just eyeballing it, looks to be about the size or even smaller potentially, compared to what a northern parcel of this parcel in question would be if it were split. I don't know if everyone's following that, but someone had mentioned that it would be hard to put a structure on that parcel if it were split off. But in just looking at, again, that parcel at 5130, that parcel looks smaller to me than what a northern half parcel of this current property would be. So I guess I'm just curious about that. If maybe that parcel, that 5130 structure was maybe built in the 50s as well, and you can't do it now. Could I get some clarity on that?
So it's possible too that that parcel is non-conforming. I don't know off the top of my head that it's meets the regulations, so I can't really speak to that, unfortunately.
Mark, do you have any insight on that?
Other than this was done as a platted subdivision, this parcel was part of the parcel of which is known as Lot 13 that went north. And if you can see it, I know the picture isn't very good. It went up and included the cul-de-sac that's to the north on Joe Downs. So this was one piece originally, and then it was split and then built on in 63. We don't have any documentation on the land division for it back in 63 in that. So in the zoning of it was RC at the time.
Okay, thank you. I saw Commissioner Shrewsbury.
I was going to echo Commissioner Schneider's comments that, looking at the neighborhood, the lot sizes are fairly small, and with the exception of the multi-unit site that is on the south part of this plot parcel that we're talking about, dividing it off would seem more in keeping with the neighborhood. And it would be nice if that is true, it would be nice if we could find a way to make that possible, as opposed to the property owner selling it and having something potentially larger. Well, I guess they couldn't put anything larger on that site without a rezoning, but it seems as if what they're intending to do is something that the people who've spoken, I think, would be in favor of if it were doable. And it would, be a win-win for all, because the applicant would be able to sell the piece of property, the neighbors wouldn't get something different and would get another single family home or possibly duplex in their neighborhood. But it sounds really complicated, and clearly we've spent a lot of time talking about it already. I'm just wondering if, I don't know that it's ours to figure out necessarily. I think the applicant has to decide, but I think if there are ways that we can assist with that, if there is a path forward and it would work, that would be what I'd like to do. But I think what's before us doesn't sound particularly workable without some changes to.
Yeah. I agree with Commissioner Shrewsbury. The Planning Commission is not allowed to offer conditions on a rezoning request. Those conditions have to be voluntary and made by the applicant. With no conditions, as the proposal currently stands before us, I don't know that I could support it, because I don't believe that the possibility of something going awry down the road would be too great. And so, barring some change to the current proposal as we see it, I don't know that I could be supportive of this straight rezoning as it is offered today. But barring, there might be a change down the road. We don't know. So I think perhaps, and we'll see at the straw poll here in a minute, I'm sure, where everyone's heads are at. But there is an opportunity here for the applicant to take our comments and think about this, and maybe work with the planning staff a little bit further to talk through what their hopes and dreams are for the proposed site, and maybe end up with a proposal that might be more agreeable. Commissioner Snyder.
Thank you. So something that I was just thinking about right off the bat was, the the property owner kind of, from what I understand, has basically just inherited a non-conforming, building, just by way of, time and the evolution of ordinance, correct me if I'm wrong, but so total number of units currently allowed under our ordinance is 5, but they have 6, and back, many decades ago when it was built, 6 was acceptable. So I was also just kind of thinking through, if we were to grant the rezoning to RCC, we would at least be bringing them into compliance. It would no longer be non-conforming.
Yeah, that's true. Commissioner Cordell.
I would not be prepared to vote for a rezoning as presented, just in order to bring it to quote conforming over one residential unit. I think the neighborhood would lose out, and honestly, I don't think it really addresses the concerns of the current property owner. So tonight I would not vote for this proposal as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Cordell. Anyone else? Okay, so at this time, we're going to go ahead and move to our straw poll. For those who are interested parties at home, the straw poll is not a vote per se. It's sort of gauging our interest level in pursuing this, and it gives the staff direction when they're preparing a resolution for the next time around. And so this is just giving them a sense of where we're at. Commissioner Trezise.
Yeah, I see that Ms. Huang's got her hand up.
Oh, pardon me, I missed that. Helen, did you have a comment you'd like to make before we get to that straw poll?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Is that, do you have the application like something include in there? It will allow only one family or maybe duplex include in the application? So we will not plan to sell it for the person who's going to build more than 2 units. So is that possible? Yeah, we are not planning to build like more than 2, or even we sell to someone who purchased, they are not going to build more than two units over there. So is that something you have some kind of form that you can include in there?
I think perhaps it might be most efficient if Peter or Mark or Keith reached out to you after this meeting to work with you in getting you to a place where you're comfortable with your application materials. And if there are changes, they can make us aware of those changes between now and our next meeting.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Is that okay? Is that agreeable to you?
Oh, okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
Helen, someone from our team will contact you tomorrow.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. So with that, we're going to go to our straw poll, and this is as presented. So we'll start with Commissioner McConnell.
Yeah, this seems like an unfortunate way to try to fix a historical conundrum, and I'm really looking forward to a different approach to meet everybody's needs. So I would not support the proposal in its current form.
Okay, Commissioner Cordell.
I do not support the proposal as presented, but I do hope that a solution is found so that either a single family home or a duplex could be built on that northern portion.
Okay, Commissioner Shrewsbury.
I agree with Commissioner Cordell, so I would not support as written.
Commissioner Richards.
I would not support as proposed.
Thank you. Commissioner Bloomer.
I do not support the current proposal, but I would support an amended proposal that would allow a single development there, a single family development.
Okay. Commissioner Snyder.
And I would just mirror what Commissioner Bloomer said.
Commissioner Trezise.
I would not support current proposal.
And I would not support it as written either. While I do welcome the applicant to work with our staff and hopefully come up with a solution to the problem as presented tonight, I couldn't support it. Okay, and with that, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 8:07. So that brings us to our next agenda item 7, unfinished business. We have none. We finished all of our business previously. Next up is 8A, other business, Smart Zone. I believe we have a presentation from Director Clark next. Director Clark, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Planning Commissioners. Good evening. Thank you for your time. Tonight, I'm going to do our first presentation, basically our first public presentation on the Smart Zone. Smart Zone is a local development finance authority that was established in 2001 between the cities of Lansing and East Lansing. It's a 5-year development authority. Every 5 years they do an extension and have done so since 2001. And I guess I'll just read through the memo. It's pretty long. I'll try to sum it up and not take too much of your time. But we were approached by LEAP here as a potential community to increase the financial strength of the Smart Zone. The Smart Zone District is a local development finance authority, a collaborative tax authority created to incentivize development in industrial zone parcels of the communities. The purpose of this authority is to connect the university and community with innovation, commercialization, good high-tech jobs, and entrepreneurship. The LDFA focuses on assisting entrepreneurs with their startups, particularly businesses that involve technology and research. Recent local success of the Smart Zone is high caliber karting, which began in the TIC in the city of East Lansing and now is home, as you know it, in Meridian Mall. High caliber karting has very unique technology. It's one of a kind in the entire nation. There's no other go-karting experience where you can have a real live Mario Kart experience. And so they really are trying to make a name for themselves, but also establish it here in Michigan as like the first. So I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the engineering and the ingenuity. The regional partnership that our township has with MSU, City of Lansing, East Lansing, LEAP, and the Michigan Economic Development Corporation made the potential of adding Meridian Township as the priority step to growing the Smart Zone. Smart Zones have proven to show great innovation in attracting talent and creating new technological advances. We're proposing to add all of the parcels on Don Avenue and all of the parcels that are industrial zoned on Towner Road to be included in the Smart Zone LDFA. The next steps for the LDFA is for their board to approve Meridian Township possibly as an accepted community into the tax authority. Then I take it to the township board for public hearings. I post about public hearings. It's like the fancy 20 days, not before 40 days. It's that crazy thing when you do the tax authority, but send out to local tax jurisdictions, have public hearings, and hopefully with the approval of the township board, then submit a resolution to the LDFA Smart Zone saying that we would like to be included in the 5 years, for the next 5 years. The parcels on Don Avenue, some of you may be familiar with the Ellison Brewing. Consumers Energy has a parcel there with their transformer, MSU Van Camp Incubator, and some other small businesses, mostly technological. The decision to include the 10 parcels on Don relate to the industrial zone parcels and the typical business makeup for the area. Investments, we've seen some investments to the property over the last couple of years. And one, it's the building across from Van Camp, even though Van Camp has made great improvements as well, has taken the property value to over 6 figures. Towner Road, the local businesses established in this portion are mostly contractor-based, like Meridian Plumbing. And we've been talking to some of the owners on Towner Road, and there is a desire to make some improvements or expansions to their businesses in the area. And I just thought, well, maybe as a development tool, you could be included, and possibly there's something that working with the LDFA could do to incentivize development or revitalization in the area. The Smart Zone is potentially asking for a 65-35 intergovernmental split. Right now they have a 90-10% split, which 10% of the collected funds can be spread across the city of Lansing or East Lansing for job retention and revitalization and different eligible activities to be spent on in the zone. Right now they are proposing with this new extension to the Smart Zone that it'd be a 65-35 split, where City of Lansing, East Lansing, and Meridian Township would split the 35 as a possible recruitment or improvements to any of the parcels in the area. So we're trying to pull off the Ann Arbor, Grand Rapids smart zones. They've done a great job, and we want to bring our regional smart zone up, and they thought to include Meridian Township. When I get site searches from MEDC a lot, and many of them are looking for industrial or agricultural. They're looking for large spaces. They're looking for areas for where a tech company can come in and make a place in a community. And we don't really have a lot of space for them and kind of get left out. Part of my job, I think, as an economic developer is trying to make our community look attractive for eligible small businesses that can fit. I'm not trying to make us a Silicon Valley by any means, but wouldn't it be great if we could have other businesses like High Caliber that started and were nurtured in the region and then found a good home? I think that would be great. I think it's something that MEDC is working heavily to try to recruit. They are big on maker spaces and biotechnological engineering and innovative businesses that way. There's a lot of incentives that they're building that way. They do have that remote work recruitment program going on where they're trying to ask people who live in different states that make a certain, like, it's a six-figure mark, but once they reach that mark, if they would like to live in Michigan and remote work, and I think it's like $15,000 extra that we pay them in order to be here in the state, because we're just not we're not retaining our talent. We've got 2 Big Ten schools and all the students leave. So I think this could help our community kind of like be a little bit of a niche and maybe start attracting a little bit more of that science and technology into our region and possibly help them grow. And if nothing else, help some of the established businesses that are there, because, you know, Ellison Brewery did open a place, I think, over in Rio Town, and they are over off Down Avenue right now. And I would like to keep them. I think they're a great innovative business. So I'd love to hear your comments, any questions you have. One big question that we asked during the LDF board meeting was, how do the communities capture the 10%? So how does Meridian Township say, hey, I need, you know, 50,000 of the 10% to do a recruitment or to buy some property or something for a tech business? How do we get a hold of those funds? And then what is the process of that? That question hasn't been answered yet. So I'm interested in your questions, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Director Clark. Any questions for Director Clark? Commissioner Cordial, and then Commissioner McConnell, then Commissioner Trezise.
I do have questions, but I was wondering what the bottom line, are you looking for a resolution or from us, or what are you?
Oh, I mean, I'm kind of using you as a little bit of board guinea pigs, as well as the fact that you are, you know, you are connected to development. So this, as much as you wouldn't be the authority or advisory board to make a decision about how the funding is used on the properties, but our active eye on development is a part of what the Planning Commission does. And just wondering, you know, I guess your overall thoughts about tax authorities and incentivizing development in those areas, what you've heard or what other hurdles you may think we could encounter. I don't see it as a negative necessarily for the township at all. It'll just come down to the local tax authorities that are going to miss out on that capture for 5 years or 10 years or however long the authority lasts.
So it functions like a TIF where property taxes are frozen, and though that difference can be reinvested in I don't want to say streetscape, but infrastructure.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly how it will work.
So right now, well, we're at 90. It's at 90% capture and 10% but I'm just trying to, some of the terminology I'm not all that familiar with, but I'm just trying to see how this would work in layman's terms. So that difference, it's a 10-year increment.
It's forever. It's 5 years. So the authority
Okay.
is established for 5 years. And thank you for letting me know. I've used too many words to explain their process. So because the city of Lansing and East Lansing are already in the authority right now, their agreement is that whatever the city of Lansing captures, 90% of it goes to the city of Lansing. Whatever the city of East Lansing captures, 90% goes back. But that 10% is a shared bucket. So that would be, and that is my question for the LDFA is, well, how do you get access to the shared bucket? Is there some process where your community says, okay, I would like to take a certain amount from that fund, from the intergovernmental fund? I believe that fund is controlled by LEAP, and they do recruitment and economic development searches on behalf of the tax authority. And they'll say, oh, well, the city of Lansing has a couple of acres over here that's industrial zone that you could go to. You could build a building there, and then that would be in turn a good thing for the city of Lansing because now they have an increase in property value that they could capture and keep capturing. So I think the interfund is kind of like a shared space for promoting the smart zone, and they have a list of different eligible activities.
Because oftentimes, like with a traditional TIF, that money may become part of a revolving loan fund. But this isn't like a revolving loan fund, correct? It's more of a marketing tool.
Yes, it's definitely a development incentive. It works very, very much like the DDA's TIF or any other tax authority where they're just going to capture the increase for a specific amount of time. But the beauty of the smart zones work because, you know, I think it's Ann Arbor's smart zone, it stretches into Ypsilanti, but Ypsilanti has not produced any increase in their property value. So only the intergovernmental agreement portion of the fund gets put into Ypsilanti for economic development out of that. And for a while, this smart zone, our Lansing smart zone, the city of Lansing hasn't really produced anything, and East Lansing only just started to really produce a lot with their 2 large buildings going up. So they've started to see some activity increase in the fund right now. And so that's kind of where it's picked up some legs, is because East Lansing's buildings have come up now. And so now there's a larger portion in the fund for them. And it's time to renew the extension.
Just one last question. I'll give my fellow commissioners opportunity to ask questions. How long has this been available?
I think Meridian Township was approached when Director Lane was first here. So I think he was approached last June. Okay. I would imagine this has been, technically available since 2001. I just don't know if Meridian Township has been approached by the Smart Zone board to be included.
Thank you.
Okay. Gosh, I'm struggling to remember who was up. I think it was Commissioner Trezise and then Commissioner McConnell.
You've answered some of my questions already, but what type of expenditures would this fund be used for? And it would be within the zone only, I assume.
It is in the zone only. Let me see if I can rattle off some of the things that it does. It does pay for LEAP, so it does pay a portion of LEAP. So the Smart Zone has a development fund itself, and it assists companies that are interested in finding space within the region to locate specifically within the TIF districts. So the program inspired by Downtown Lansing's Inc. Make It Downtown. So I believe they use that funding for recruitment of saying, hey, here's a spot in Lansing that would fit your needs. Here's a spot in East Lansing, or if we get included, here's a spot in Meridian Township that could suit your need. A drafting of the TIF plan renewal is included, and the new program funding, they have a line item for that, which launches new programs to support tech-based entrepreneurship. So the majority of the funds of the money spent out of this fund look to be to promote or try to attract businesses to come to the smart zone in some sort of way.
And you were talking about changing from the 90-10 split to 65-35. So we would be giving 35% of the tax increment to LEAP to use for recruiting.
Well, it would really be I mean, technically, I guess, because LEAP is the managing
Fiduciary, yeah.
Yes. But it is supposed to be across the board for the 3 communities.
It goes to LDFA to be distributed to the 3 communities.
And how has it been distributed, or has it been distributed in the past, or is it just building up, even at the 90-10? Or do you know?
Yeah, even at the 90, from what I can gather, I've been to 2 board meetings. Their large increase in funding available right now has been from the recent redevelopment in the city of Lansing. So the capture that they have right now has been over the last couple of years from their new hub buildings. So I mean, I don't want to say it's been unsuccessful, but I don't think it's reached their goals that they had in 2001 to 2005. And so they don't really have a lot of examples besides small things like helping businesses like High Caliber be attracted to communities. But High Caliber is a very big success. So I feel like even though it's recent, it is still a very large success for a community.
Oh, and I agree that the funding would only come if the tax base went up. So we're committing to little unless it's successful.
It is. I think over our 5 years, our projection of funding will be like what we actually produce based off of what's there right now. So we're fingers crossed that there is some more development in the area over the next 5 years. But what we have right now is like $50,000
Okay.
of capture.
Thank you.
Commissioner McConnell, then Commissioner Shrewsbury.
Thanks. I'm going to keep listening. I'm learning a lot.
Okay, Commissioner Shrewsbury.
Me too.
It's been a while since I used to know more about this when I was in Lansing. But 2 questions. One, and this may be a question the township board might ask, but like, what would Meridian Township have representation on the board for this entity if we were to partner and join? Is question 1. And then question 2 is, I believe that being in a smart zone, if the taxes are being captured and used for other purposes, the businesses are still using them, but then that entitles them to other tax credits because they're developing in a smart zone. Is that correct?
Yes, essentially they could. I think there are some larger tax credits that they could receive from the state, from MEDC through that.
Okay, so there's an incentive to businesses to locate in these areas because they're specifically designated for benefits. And that's separate from the things you were just talking about in terms of the benefits to Meridian Township.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. It's a pretty decent development tool if you have. I from what I'm gathering and what I'm learning, it seems to work well when you have an interest in a big technology, right? It's basically creating a technology park through 3 communities, one in one large area. Now you have 3, and you can kind of spread that out.
And the businesses that are in those areas currently would qualify or sort of fit that profile, or would we be looking for different development if this was to go forward?
Well, they technically qualify by their zoning because they're industrial parcels. So I did follow up and ask, because Peter and I both had the question, well, what if they rezone? And they, would they still, and if they rezone, they're still qualified. So in order to just basically be eligible, they have to be zoned industrial now. And if they get included in the tax authority, even if they change zoning, as long as there's development and there's increase in the value of the property, it's a good thing.
And then the question about would Meridian Township have representation in the decision-making process for the smart,
right, for the smart
the LDFA. Yep.
So right now I'm sitting on the board, but I'm not like a member yet, and I'm sitting in kind of like an understanding educational mode. I think the idea is that, yes, once we are included in the tax authority, somebody would need to be representing of the township. I don't know if that would be me. It might be somebody else, probably might be me, but maybe a board member would want to take that. So I will follow up and get some clarity on that.
I imagine that would be in their charter as to what would be required for membership at the very least. Commissioner Cordell, I saw you a moment ago. Did you have more questions?
Yeah, it was basically what Commissioner Shrewsbury was saying. I guess I'm just wondering, you know, who decides who gets that 35%, or
I don't think the full 35.
Or that we're out of that. I mean, is it, I guess that's what I'm wondering. Is it's almost like a grant application or what? I mean.
And I did ask that, actually, both myself and Jess. Oh, shoot, she's a city council person in East Lansing, Jess.
Jesse Gregg.
Yes, Jesse Gregg. And we both were pretty much like, how much is this tax authority gonna generate? And we saw that number. And then how do you get into that pocket of money? Is it a raising your hand? Is it an application? Is it what? And we didn't really get a really total clear answer of that process. We've been told once we get into, if Meridian Township does get into the LDFA, then they'll take us through that process. If the LDFA, if we get into it for the 5 years and then don't do another extension, whatever money is still in there can still be used over those parcels. So that's also good news.
Yeah, I just wouldn't want to be in a compromise situation where I don't know what the process is for benefiting out of that communal pot.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Cordell. Yeah, I agree. It does seem a little, I don't know if that's the official answer, right? Because saying, join us and give us your money, and then we'll tell you how to apply for it seems like an odd way to get us interested in joining. So I'm sure there's an answer on the book somewhere that will be helpful in helping us to shape our thoughts on it. What parcels in Lansing and East Lansing, like what general areas are currently included in the LDFA?
That's a good question. 1 second.
Okay.
If I can get it, I do believe that East Lansing's LDFA is the majority of Grand River, so like pretty much smart on them for that. Let me see if I can dig it up. And I think Lansing has multiple parcels and they're kind of scattered around, but let me see if I can find that.
Okay. Yeah, it's just, you don't have to answer tonight necessarily, but it's one of those things that I imagine you're going to be asked in the future, just to give a picture of like local success and where, if anywhere, in the area, there's been, improvement as a result or investment as a result. And then similarly, I'd be curious to know, once you do have that information, or maybe they'd be able to provide you with the taxable valuation of the parcels that are in those areas. And then so we could see them side by side with the ones from East Lansing and the ones in Meridian Township, right? Because, if we're, what concerns me a little bit is the change in the funding model that may be coming as the result of inclusion of Meridian Township. Right? Is it such that like we're going to be providing 90% of the funding, and now that we're coming in, we're swapping to a model where there's a lot more communal funding, right? That has me a little bit concerned from a motivational perspective from the LDFA. I'm sure there's valid reasons, and maybe they're going to go to this 65-35 model no matter what we choose to do. But it's something that I'd like to at least go in eyes wide open about, so that we know what it is that's being asked. And then the other question I had was, would inclusion of these parcels in the LDFA, preclude them from being included in any other TIFs? I assume the answer is yes.
I actually believe, well, yes, I would have to believe that yes. I mean, you're getting the tax authorities to say yes on that parcel.
Yeah. Because it's, it's been a while since I've sat on the Corridor Improvement Authority, but I know that idea was being bandied about. And I know that there's been some consternation at the board level about giving them a taxable authority, or a taxing authority rather. But if that organization is to have more teeth, more ability to make positive change, I know that they had expressed an interest in possibly looking at that at some point down the road. And so if we were to remove this section on Dawn Avenue specifically, you'd be eliminating a number of properties that might be providing a tremendous amount of value, if we believe that there's going to be growth, to a taxable authority that could benefit the Grand River Corridor in Meridian Township, which also meets with the region's goals, right? But it might just be a more targeted way to do it.
Right.
So I like the idea of the LDFA and LEAP. I just want to make sure that we're getting all the facts at the outset so that we know what it is that, more or less we're investing in.
I do have the drafted TIF plan in front of me. The City of Lansing's LDFA covers the University Corporate Research Parks, and it does include the new McLaren Hospital. However, that will not be a taxable entity any longer, and so the thought capture for that new development will not be included.
Okay.
Oh, and then you said East Lansing. East Lansing's district is the Park District, the city, Center City, and the Hub. So the big, basically they're very large new buildings that they've just recently built.
Got it. Well, that should bring in some cash.
It did. And so they did have very similar questions to yours, because when you look side by side at the comparison of how much capture will be, they're going to capture the most. And so their concern was, hey, if we go 65, then that's a larger portion of what we're sharing. So you're right on.
Commissioner Shrewsbury and then Commissioner McConnell. Oh, not Commissioner Shrewsbury, Commissioner McConnell.
Yeah, just a couple of comments. It would be really useful for folks like me who don't have as deep an experience with tax capture to have even a very general, simple, hypothetical kind of, say somebody was going to buy this thing and this is how much tax it could potentially generate and this is how it would change if this were to be implemented. It'd be really helpful for me to get my head around how these work. And the issue on other potential tax capture, it seems like it'd be very important to pay attention to how a brownfield redevelopment application might intersect with this, since we're talking about redevelopment of our industrial land. So thanks.
Any other questions for Director Clark? Hearing crickets and yep. Is that Commissioner Trezise looking to weigh in or just waving at the camera?
I'll weigh in and ask Ms. Clark, what does she wish the commission to do with this information at this point?
At this point, you've helped. Again, you're kind of my guinea pigs for a board of bringing this forward. Also, didn't want it to be a surprise if it did happen, that this was something that was coming up. So a little bit of an informational, but also as a trial. You don't really. I don't think I need a big show of support because there's a few other things for the LDFA board that they have to do in order before we can really take it to the board, and the township board eventually will decide if we want another tax authority in this community or not.
Well, I hope we ask you enough questions to focus your presentation to the board, because I'm sure you get a lot of questions from them also.
Yes, you did. Yes.
All right.
And they're the same questions I have, so that is how do we get the money? Yes.
All right.
Well, yep.
Okay, with that said, we'll move on to our next agenda item, to agenda item 8B, which is our MUPUD ordinance change. And I think we're going to hand things over to Peter at this point.
Yep. Hey, everybody. So on page 32 of the PDF packet is the memo regarding the MUPUD ordinance. So thanks for talking about this at our last meeting on the 22nd. The subcommittee did get together on April 5 and talked about the last amenities section and kind of did a final look before you may consider this for zoning amendment. So what you've got here are several bulleted items that have been changed, and I'm just going to go through those, and they were all in the amenities section of the ordinance. So we reduced the amount of required non-residential uses from 50% to 25%, and that was one of the 3 amenity categories, or one of the amenities in the 3 amenity category. I increased the minimum size of the courtyard area to at least either 20% of the building footprint or a minimum of 5,000 square feet. And I didn't really have a good reference on what a good size would be. So, everyone uses their own personal experiences for things. We had a night at the H Hotel in Midland that was great. And if you've ever seen that property in Midland, it's got a big courtyard out front. It's 5,000 square feet. So it seemed like a good usable space. They do weddings, they do outdoor activities there. It seems like the kind of thing that we're looking for in that 3 amenity feature. But again, that's just something I picked. So if you have a different logic for size, so that's an either or. So either at least 20% or a minimum of 5,000. Divided the transit amenity into 2 different amenities. So there is one under the 1 amenity category, that's the enhancement of a current transit stop. And then we added one under the 2 amenity category, that is the creation of a new enhanced transit stop on a property not currently served by public transit. So just divided those out. And then added a provision to the public recreation resources, which is in the 1 amenity category, that requires the space to be open and accessible to the general public. Then finally added a provision allowing only 1 amenity from the 1 amenity category to be counted towards the total number of required amenities. Oh, a lot of saying the word amenity a lot here.
Many amenities.
Yes. So those are the changes that have been made since last time you saw it. Depending on your level of comfort with the ordinance as it's written, I did provide a motion to initiate a zoning amendment. So what that does is kicks our staff into setting a public hearing for a future meeting. So and that means an ad in the back of the newspaper, basically. And then it would go through our zoning amendment process. So it goes to the Planning Commission for public hearing and discussion and recommendation, then on to the Township Board for consideration, and then potentially becomes local law to be used in the MUPUD ordinance. So if you have any questions about the provisions that were changed, the process of the ordinance at all, please let me know.
Thank you, Peter. At this time, we'll open the floor for any discussion or a motion to be made. Commissioner Richards.
Yeah, I would move to initiate a zoning amendment to amend section 86-440, the mixed use plan unit development ordinance, in accordance with the revisions proposed in the draft ordinance dated April 9th, 2021. So moved.
Seconded by Commissioner Bloomer. Any discussion on this? Commissioner Trezise.
Yeah, I think we've discussed this over and over again for a number of months, and I think this is a good presentation at this point, and I think it should start moving forward to get public comment to go forward. It may not be the final product, but it's a place to start and get to public hearings and start getting input.
Commissioner Shrewsbury.
I agree that this would be great to get public comment. I had a question that I probably should have flagged the last time we reviewed this, but it jumped out at me when Peter reviewed the changes about public transit stops, because I thought I recalled in discussion of another proposed change at one point that developers didn't usually have a lot of control around public transit stops. Those were controlled by CATA. And so I'm wondering, obviously there would have to be some coordination with CATA to put that as an amenity, but could a developer, could they do that, or do those have to be, I don't know if you know the answer to that, but that just flagged that for me. So that would not be something I would want to stop this from moving forward because of, I was just more curious.
Yeah, I think it's a situation whereby they can work with CATA to establish a spot where there's not one now. Certainly, they're not going to be able to provide that if it's not at all near any of their current lines. But there seem to be the opportunities that CATA is interested in doing more and considering these kind of requests from developments.
I saw Commissioner Richards and then Commissioner Cordell.
Yes, this has happened in the past. I mean, the reason why it's a counts for two amenities is the CATA will expect the developer to pay a certain amount of money on an annual basis if they follow their procedures with the apartments that went up near the MAC, because there was a lot of discussion back and forth, and there wasn't an agreement, but to go forward with a CATA bus stop. So it is definitely possible.
Commissioner Cordell?
Yeah, just on that particular, the transit amenity, are we specific enough of what kind of enhancement that would be?
We aren't. I don't know specifically all
Okay.
the things that would come into play. I think the general, at least
Yeah.
in my mind, the general idea was to, if there's a current stop, and by stop, I guess what I was envisioning is you probably see these signs, just a single pole by the road. So the enhancement to me would be getting seating and shelter, at least to start. And then from there, I know CATA is working on a variety of things that they want to do in these spaces. Mark has talked to us a little bit about digital tracking of where the buses are and being able to get your tickets at the stop itself, at the little stop itself. So, and I'm sure there's other things, but anything in accordance with their standards and the kind of things that CATA is looking for. We're not asking, I guess, an applicant to recreate anything, but just to plug into whatever CATA is looking to do.
Yeah, as a member of this committee, appreciate Peter's hard work on it, but it's kind of like the master plan. It's almost like the scarf coming out, it's like if you hold on to it too long, you're going to have the string of different color scarves coming out. And you're just kind of like, where am I going to get the darn thing? But it's come a long way. And I just wanted to point out the first bullet point of, it's something that I brought up. It's like, it's 50% too high. So we had some conversation about non-residential uses. Is 50% too high, or should we? Well, the committee decided to reduce it to 25%. I'm just curious what the commission thinks of that particular item.
Commissioner McConnell, I see your hand.
I was going to address a different point, so if somebody wanted to continue on that one, I'm happy to wait.
Sure. To my eye, the 25% makes much more sense than 50. We struggle to get 50. We struggle to get one floor of a 4-story building to be non-residential as it is. I think this is a far more realistic path forward. Commissioner Trezise, I saw you.
No, I agree. I think it represents about the first floor of most buildings, or within this, or more. So I think 25% is a very good target to aim for.
Anyone else on that? Or else we'll go back to Bill. All right, Commissioner McConnell.
Yeah, thanks. I really appreciate the discussion of transit. I think that's a great thing to be talking about and figuring out more and more details of. Seems like one of the other big changes that's being proposed in the discussion is the kind of accessibility of the amenities to the general public. And there was one spot on page 8 of the draft, section E1F, where it still has the language visible and or accessible to the public. And I'm guessing that maybe is just sort of a holdover, or maybe that's a different instance. But if one of the big takeaways is that if you build an amenity, it can't just be for the residents or the renters, it's supposed to be a public amenity. That one might be worth just double checking.
Can you give us that citation one more time, Bill?
Page 8 Section E amenities, Section 1 requirements and guidelines, sub F amenities shall be visible and or accessible to the public.
Thank you. I was almost there. You can't rattle off page 8, section E that fast, or else I can't keep up with you. Okay. All right. Any other discussion on this? All right, seeing none, there's a motion on the floor to initiate a zoning amendment. So we'll go ahead and call the roll. Commissioner McConnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cordell,
Yes.
Commissioner Shrewsbury,
Yes.
Commissioner Richards,
Yes.
Commissioner Bloomer,
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder,
Yes.
Commissioner Trezise,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Motion carries 8-0. All right, thanks everyone. This represents a lot of work from the subcommittee, from the staff, and from this body, and I look forward to seeing this take the next step. So thank you. All right, we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is 9A, Township Board Update. We'll turn things over to Peter for our Township Board Update.
Okay, so the board met on the 20th, March 30. Planning Commission last met on March 22. The board met on March 30. They had a joint meeting between local representatives from local governments and school districts. So that meeting did happen on the 30th, nothing related to Planning Commission. And then they have not met again since then, but do meet tomorrow night. And on the agenda tomorrow night is the zoning amendment related to the motor vehicle sales establishments in C2 and C3. Initially, the rezoning at Kansas and Jolly was going to be on the agenda, but the applicant asked to move it to the first meeting in May. So if you're following that one and you're watching this meeting, please look at the first meeting in May for that request. And that's it. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions for Peter? I have one that is sort of an old one that's just, I drove past this other property the other day and I was curious about it. The Martin, I think it was a rezoning application. It was the Baptist Church on Hagedorn. And there was a parsonage behind it. And I believe they were hoping to rezone it to PO so they could do an MUPUD. Did they move on that at all?
No, they eventually withdrew the request after some discussion at the board.
Got it. All right. I must have forgotten that one. All righty. Any other questions for Peter? Okay, we'll go on then to liaison updates. Anyone wish to give an update from a liaison committee that they were attending? Don't all jump at once. Okay, well, we've had a quiet 3 weeks here. So then we'll go ahead and move on. And I'm going to take just a moment to quickly recognize a departure that's impending upon us here, since we won't see him before our next meeting. Peter Menser is leaving the township and will be moving next door, so not too far away, I believe to East Lansing, if I'm not mistaken. And he'll be taking on a role over there and their team. And I just wanted to take a moment on behalf of everyone, and I'll give everyone a second to have an opportunity to say it themselves, but to thank Peter for the work that he's done for the township. Certainly for this body, it's been tremendously valuable. And I know that you will be missed by all of us. And if I ever have the opportunity to come sit in the East Lansing Planning Commission or their board while you're staffing them, I'll make sure to heckle you from the back row. So thank you, Peter, for all the work that you do, and we wish you absolute success as you move on into the new position.
Thanks a lot. I really appreciate that. I've really enjoyed working at the township. I've been at the township since 2006, so it's a long time, and time really flies because I feel like I just moved to the area 2 months ago. But moved here, met my wife, got married, had a long, successful run at the township. So a lot has happened. And I'm really excited. I'm taking, so I'll be the planning and zoning administrator for the city of East Lansing. And I start on the 19th. My last day is this Friday at the township. So I'm not moving. I still live in Hazlet, not going anywhere, still a resident of the township. And certainly I'll be around township people because I've made friendships here for the hopefully last a long time. And I've really enjoyed working with the Planning Commission and every iteration, all the different people that have served during my time over the years. And you know, thanks for volunteering your time, and I think you make our jobs pretty easy comparatively. So anyways, I appreciate you recognizing that. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you. And there will be a small token of our appreciation coming your way if it hasn't found its way to you already. That will hopefully keep you coming and patronizing Meridian Township businesses for at least a little while longer before you get professionally obligated to go to East Lansing more often.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think my habits will change. I'm in the same routine that I hope to continue. Other than my office, I'll be working from home, I think, for the foreseeable future, which will be definitely way different for me. I'm used to going into an office, but once they get back into I haven't even seen the office I'll be working in, so it'll be a big, interesting change.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah,
Well,
thanks.
best
I
of
haven't
luck
seen it
to
yet, but I'll let you know when I do, and thanks for whatever it is.
It's on the way.
Okay.
All right. With that, we'll move on to project updates. We've got new applications. We've got 2 site plans received, none, and site plans approved. We've got so that brings us to our last opportunity for public remarks. So I don't see anyone in the meeting attendees. So if you'd like to call in and offer your thoughts via public remarks, you can do so at 517-349-1232. Please remember to keep your remarks limited to 3 minutes and give us your name and address at the top of your call. Go ahead, callers.
Not everyone at once.
If you've stuck with us this long, you get 3 minutes.
I'm hearing no telephones ring, sir.
All righty, that's all we got then. So we need a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Trezise. Do we have a second? Seconded by Commissioner McConnell. All those in favor of adjournment say aye.
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 And the meeting stands adjourned at 8:55 p.m.
Good luck, Peter.
Yeah,
Good
good
luck,
luck,
Peter.
Peter.
Best to you, Peter. Thank you.
Thanks.
Peter.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Yeah. Bye. Take care.